Trying to boost my subscribers, I'm trying to maintain the vision. People that know me close just live different than what they show me. It's hard to feel like they know me when I'm just scrolling through images. Truth be told, I feel pain, but I'm on the pinnacle. Been chasing this music thing for a minute though. Know some good people that never see success. And here I am sitting worried about show appearances.
Hello everyone, I'm Angeline and she's Risa, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 126 of With the Quickness.
Hello everyone, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. Today we're going to share our takeaways from the December 25th, 2022 sermon given at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, and a past sermon given at Victory Missionary Baptist Church in Las Vegas, Nevada. So Risa, what was your big takeaway from First Baptist today?
We have direct access to call on Jesus.
Okay. My big takeaway was we need to see Christ in our neighbors. What was your big takeaway from Victory Missionary Baptist Church?
To remember who has us.
Okay. My big takeaway was God will place you and promote you when he sees fit. Now, we're going to get into those sermons a little later in the show, but right now, we're going to throw it over to Risa, who's going to share the last song for 2022 for her playlist. Risa, what's the song of the week this week?
Are we ready? It's time.
We narrowed it down to one song. This is Song of the Week, currently featured on With the Quickness Spotify playlist.
So because today is Christmas, it was only right that I had to add a song from the Queen of Christmas herself, Mariah Carey. And this song actually comes from her album, Merry Christmas to You, which is her second Christmas album that came out on November the 2nd, 2010. And the song is called First Noel / Born is the King medley. The song is pretty self-explanatory. It talks about the birth of Jesus Christ. And I like the song because it starts out very traditional, but then there is a Born is the King medley, which is giving me R&B with the bass knocking. So I wanted to add this because, you know, of course we know her other Christmas hits like All I Want for Christmas Is You, but I really wanted to pick this song, especially because she just had her Christmas special, and a lot of the lambs really want Mariah to do a gospel record. And in my mind, I feel like this record would be like a template as to how her gospel album would sound. So I was like, I have to pick this song. So.
The rest of the Lamely wants the gospel album too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lamely. I say this with all sincerity. You are a mighty force in the record community. And the more you want it, the more you put your voices behind it, she'll hear you. She might not hear my little voice, but I know she'll hear yours. And I am so excited that they are saying that they would really love that. I would love that at Christmas time. When I'm playing the rest of my music all year long, I would love that, to have a great gospel album from her. So thank you for letting me know that the Lamely has said, hark, an angel sings.
Absolutely.
So you picked it because you love the feel of it and you kind of are hoping her album has some kind of similar flavor to it like that, correct?
Right. Like if she were to do a gospel record, I feel like, yes, she would probably do traditional hymns, but she would also add her spin on R&B like she always has. So it would have that that Mariah stamp on it that, you know, no one else could do but her.
Oh yeah, totally get it. I could totally hear her voice being played on many contemporary gospel stations during the Christmas time, but also there's other seasons like Easter, you know, and other times of the year that you just want to throw on a song and put her in your rotation on your playlist. So this would be really great because she already has a lot of songs already, like you reminded me in other shows. She has a lot of great, you know, gospel songs already under her belt, right, Risa?
Absolutely. She has a lot. And I also want to go on record too, because I know, you know, I normally don't do a 2-for-1, but as you will see on the playlist, because today is Christmas, I also added some songs from the late, great Whitney Houston from the Preacher's Wife soundtrack, because again, that is a staple in my household that I play every Christmas. And, you know, Whitney really did some great songs on that album, and that album is more so a gospel record. So I wanted to at least give her some shine on that as well.
It wouldn't be, I think it would be a great thing if the whole Trinity was able to put out their spin on their gospel greats. I mean, Whitney did hers,
Mm-hmm.
If Mariah does hers next, and then Celine, hey, life is golden, you know. The vocal trinity all putting out a work praising our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, because we already remember too, we already had that record of When You Believe with Mariah and Whitney. So it would have been like a earth-shattering thing to have Mariah, Whitney, and Celine on one track. They would have swept the Grammys automatically because that's just.
And the best way to do it is if they take a song of Whitney's, just like Natalie Cole did her father's, take a song of Whitney's, take different verses, do different harmonies. It can still happen. Anything is possible. Anything is possible, Dorothy. Just click your heels 3 times. Anything's possible.
Just saying. If the estate is listening, just saying. If it makes sense and it's properly done, you could easily put Mariah and put Celine in and then put in some Whitney tracks in there. And
get David Foster to do it because he knows all those voices very well.
Yeah, he does.
You know, that's just my little take on it. But who am I? I am not a head lamb. I'm just a little lamb in the lamb-o-lee. You're a bigger lamb than I am as far as lambs are concerned because you've been with the whole tribe of lamb-o-lee for longer.
See, I feel if that were to happen, I love David Foster, I do, but I really feel like we need to get the crew back in. And when I say the crew, the lambs know, they know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Brian Michael Cox, Jonta Austin, and I Need JD, because those were the 3 people that collabed with MC on her Emancipation of Mimi album. And they pretty much crafted a masterpiece. They've done that album. They did Usher's Confessions. So if the crew comes back and they're able to combine those 3 voices to create a masterpiece, I just want to go on record and say, please save this video for reference. Because
I get it. I get how you feel. I honestly feel that the man that knows the ethereal parts of those voices of all 3 women, I think David will do something a little bit different, and I think it will transcend to more populations, from people all the way to country, all the way to classical. I think for me, if he put his hands on it, could be their album as producers. But if he put his prowess, prowess is the word, but if he puts his expertise, his producing expertise on the song with those 3 voices, it can't go wrong for me. I know the overall unit, I get it, the production of everything. Most of her songs have already been done. We're just asking for a couple extra banger hits from her.
Right. And I just feel like if you have the crew and then
you add it, you want the crew.
And you add in Celine, but wait though, because We Belong Together is a classic that was made by the crew, minus Celine. So
but David Foster did I Will Always Love You. I'm sorry. I just feel like
he did.
I feel like no one, if you wanted to transcend a lot of populations for the song, I think he's the ears to hear right there, to hear it put together just right, because he can right.
But see, just like how I Will Always Love You transcends, so did We Belong Together. That transcends.
Not as many records were sold as, I mean, if you had to compare the number of records, one sold a lot more than the other.
I will come back the next time we record to reveal those numbers, because I got a feeling.
No.
Yes.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Because I had little babies, grandmothers, everybody knowing that song, and people in different languages know that song. Come on.
I just want to see the numbers. So audience, I will find those numbers for you and I will report back.
We can look them up now. I got time. Ain't nothing but opportunity between us. We can look it up now.
Fine. We can look it up
We
right now.
Belong Together did not sell more than I Will Always Love You. Is no way in the
sure?
I am 100% sure.
Okay. So let's see.
Everything in me was, I rode that train with the rest of the world. And when Whitney, the Bodyguard, dropped, no. Nothing has topped that as far as soundtrack number ones. Nope. Everybody had to give her flowers when she was alive, because everybody knew that we were watching something beautiful in the making.
So apparently it sold over 20 million, right?
Okay. For which song?
For I Will Always Love You.
Okay, over 20 million.
Yeah, over 20 million.
And did We Belong Together sell?
Okay.
Are you waiting with anticipation like I am, world? I know you are. Because mother's right. A lot of times mothers are right. But y'all always want to act like mothers ain't right. We're right.
Goodness gracious. So, for We Belong Together, it was 4 times platinum. We'll make that very crystal clear. 4 times platinum by the RAA Association.
Okay.
But apparently it sold 4 million copies.
Uh-huh.
I don't believe that.
So let's
feel
give
like-
David Foster his flowers for producing a really good song. Whitney did a wonderful job, but I do say that if they find a song, a gospel song that Whitney did, that Mariah and Celine can also add their voices to, in order for us to still have Whitney's voice encapsulated. Yeah, you can make the face if you want to. Make the face. I'm okay with that reason.
Listen, I have love for Mr. Foster. I just thought, because again, but then again, you know how it is. You can hear a song 365, 24/7, Nita Baker. But
that's why mother's wisdom is right there to help you. When you guys go off the trail a little bit, a mother will say, come here, dear. Come away from that side. Don't go into the street. Come back on the sidewalk. That's all I did is push you back a little bit to the sidewalk. It's okay. It's okay. Whatever. But we both agree that we should have some wonderful producers making that happen. And if there could be a vocal Trinity track on there, everyone will be ecstatic. We do agree on that.
Well, yeah, I just need one track. That's all I need.
Just one track of the vocal Trinity together, and we'll be happy. Celine, Mariah, and Whitney. If the Whitney's estate would be, okay with that, that would be a beautiful thing. Because Mariah and Whitney already did something together, but we never had anything with all three voices.
I feel like somebody's probably sitting on some very stellar unreleased vocals that Whitney has that's not out yet. Because for whatever reason, anytime an artist passes away, they have a lot of unreleased tracks or vocals. And that's probably the same with Whitney. All I ask, because there's been a lot of movies put out, whatever. If this happens, please let it just be the proper people that come together to do it. And I also want to make sure that Mariah and Celine have a say, because Mariah is a singer, songwriter, producer. So if she can't have her say and Celine can't have her say,
there's no need to do it.
Yeah, then let's not even do it.
Yeah, it's not about just honoring Whitney. It's about having the three voices together to have great harmonies, be a great piece of work, a body of work that can transcend all of their lives and be played all the time. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Lamely, go behind, Mariah to get this done, to get her gospel album done. And maybe, just maybe, she'll have a track like that on there. And if not, there's still time. We still have her. We still have Celine. We still have time. Thank you so much for sharing your playlist with us, Risa.
You're very welcome.
If you are interested in adding to Risa's playlist, please email her at risa@withquickness.com and let her know of a song that you think would be great to add that has been maybe uplifting you, or one that can uplift new and rededicated Christians. All right, let's go on to the bulk of our show. We're going to go over to First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens, where the praise and worship singers were doing a stellar job on this Sabbath day that was also Christmas. I think everybody online for First Baptist was all in the mood of saying Merry Christmas to each other, in addition to saying good morning. So I know it had to be the same way in the sanctuary. It was great to have the candle of Christ lit for Advent season by the clergy, the ministers of First Baptist. And Pastor Quick also stated to his congregants that some of the clergy will be serving missions in India in 2023. That's pretty cool. Pastor Quick reminded everyone in attendance the importance of worshiping 52 weeks out of the year. And I think he said that because some people are still in the habit, Risa, of just getting on their nice clothes when their family's all in town and coming to church. And then you don't really see them until Easter.
Yeah, listen, this is no judgment, it's just a PSA, because I have friends of all different ages, genders, what have you. Fam, I know when it's Easter and I know when it's Christmas. Why? Because I see people coming through with their Christmas attire, their Easter attire, and they're going to church, which is fine. I think it's great. Everybody should go to church on those holidays. But what about the other regular days when it's a regular Sunday? Can we go to church on that day and post it on the gram?
Yeah. I mean, we always see the normal people that go to church quite regularly pushing, like, I'm going to Bible study, I'm going to choir practice, I am, helping with sacrament today, I'm one of the ushers. We see people that are serving in different capacities, the food ministry. You see people that are in certain ministries always posting about being at church and doing things for church. But you're right, unless it's a big event, sometimes you don't see people, or a major holiday, sometimes you don't see people very much.
Right, because I used to always get confused about that. I'm just like, okay, because my thing is, I don't feel like if we're gonna post on social media, and yes, social media may not be real, it's almost like you're just trying to promote, like, oh yeah, I'm going with my family to church, blah blah blah. But then the rest of the time, it's just like, what is church? It's like, but why?
Yeah, the people can be like, I'm a Christian and this is me with my family. Then they can show another video where they're telling off and cursing out a girlfriend, something like that. So it's like, how religious are you? I remember Meghan Markle had said in their, I think the Harry and Meghan on Netflix, that documentary came out, and she said she knew of Harry when he found her on social media. She went to his Instagram.
Right.
She asked for access to his Instagram to get a feel for who he was as a person. Now, who the person presents up there could be them. And it could also be a very well orchestrated representative. So yes, having pictures of you walking to church or taking a picture holding your Bible, those photo ops are there, Risa. They're just there.
It reminds me of those billboards that, or those ads in the paper, and you're like, false advertisement, because it's like you're showing up. Because my thing is, if we're really gonna look at our social media as like basically you're advertising yourself, as far as like, if you're a traveler, if you're a cook, if you're someone that goes to church all the time, and then you meet the person, and you're just like, what you project on your social media pages doesn't really add up to what I'm seeing in person. It's kind of like false advertisement, which then opens the window. Can you be sued for that? Because I know there was a guy that had married his wife, of course, and they had a kid, and the kid ended up not looking like the mother because the mother had a bunch of plastic surgery, and then the father was able to sue, and he won the case. And I'm just like,
yeah, that's true. I mean, that happened overseas. I believe either in China or Japan, one of those countries over there. And yeah, you can sue for false advertising in that country. Over here, I don't know if it works in the U.S. They might say, hey, you should have looked at the rest of her people. I don't know what they're saying in the U.S. I don't know what they were saying in the U.S.
I'm just saying, because it's like, if somebody can sue because of that, like, can somebody sue for something like this to say, okay, I met this person in real life, I thought they were, let's just say the person.
No, I don't think so. You know why? Because we already have a MTV show called Catfished. So everybody like, you should have known. We've been telling you, Naveed and all of them been telling you forever. People can catfish you. You got to make sure you really know somebody.
This is true. Yeah, and I love Catfish. It's my favorite show. But
it's a really good show, but it is a cautionary tale for those that want to stay in the bubble of social media and think they know someone because of what they post. It makes it very clear that if you're trying to contact someone and they're not willing to get on Zoom or FaceTime with you, that you might have an issue. It's been going on 6 months, 7 months, and you still haven't seen this person's face. Yeah, you just got a pen pal and don't know what they look like. That's what you have. You have someone you're talking to. Well, you have, back in my day, they were pen pals. Your teacher at school would give you an address.
Yeah,
and say you have people overseas that you're trying to learn Spanish. You get a pen pal that's over in Spain or over in another Spanish speaking country, and you write back and forth. Yeah. That was kind of cool. I guess these days you got Catfish. I don't know.
You know what? I actually like that. I think I was in the 4th or 5th grade, and we had like a computer class for the first time. So we had pen pals, and I believe my pen pal was like somewhere. I don't want to say, it might have been Iceland, something like that, because it was definitely in a cold area. But yeah, like we couldn't see them. So now I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, was it even someone my age? Was it a teenager? I don't even know, because
you have idea. It could have been somebody in a Norwegian prison for all you know. Who kids were talking to. All we hope is that the teachers and the school had a good connection to another school. That's all you can hope, looking back at stuff that happened in your childhood. You hope all the adults did the vetting properly. That's all you can hope for. Well, going into the rest of the service at First Baptist, Pastor Quick introduced his message, and his message for the Christmas day was, get it while the getting is good. What did you think when you heard that title, Risa?
I felt like he was about to drop some knowledge when he said that. I was like,
yeah, I'm ready. Definitely. He took his scripture from John chapter 1, verses 10 through 13 of the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. This is the part where John writes about rejection and the new birth in this passage. In verse 10, John speaks most broadly and talks about the world's rejection of Christ. Then he narrows his focus at verse 11 and speaks about Israel's rejection of Christ. And then in verses 12 and 13, he gets even more narrower, and he talks about those who received the Messiah and how they will receive him by believing in his name. Now, to start off the sermon, Pastor Quick says, the phrase getting while the getting is good, he kind of gave us a definition of it. It's a phrase that's used by many to signal someone's depart or escape or extricating themselves from some place or some situation where the conditions are worse, or it's become impossible to be there, or problematic, or even dangerous. So you're trying to, like, do something, but escape before it gets bad. Leave it behind before it gets worse. But, get while the getting's good, while it's working for you. But then don't forget, don't tarry, because it ain't going to stay that way forever. Right?
Right.
He said, we've come into this season of Christmas focusing on the wrong thing. Right? He said, we argue about things that really don't matter. Mm-hmm. Our focus at this Christmas season should really be on Christ. Not about the gifts, not about how many things you've done for people so they can see you. And he also reminded us as a congregation, we got to think about how many times we've actually reached out and talked to our parents and our loved ones during the Christmas season. Sometimes we say we're just too busy to do it, but you can't just be around and trying to contact your loved ones, when it's convenient for you. You got to think about them at all times. Right. What do you think about that reason? When we had a couple of people that have committed suicide and have a lot of mental challenges this time of year, just reaching out and touching and connecting with people. What do you think?
I think that's very crucial, because I think to use the phrase "I'm busy" is like kind of like a cop out. And I say that as someone that used to use that all the time, like, "Oh, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy." It's like, you can't be that busy. President Obama, we love him, was super busy, but he was still able to make time, like, with his wife and his daughters and his parents, that are so forth. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if it really means something to you, you will find time to, call your mother, call your father, call your grandmother, call your grandfather, your cousins, your uncles, that are so forth.
And check in.
Right. Now, if you don't want to talk to them, then that would be a different conversation. Yep. That you should probably have with that party, so they know. Mm-hmm. and they're not looking for that phone call, or trying to see what's going on. But I do feel like, given everything on a serious note, given everything that's going on with people's mental health, and mm-hmm. We're still in a pandemic, and there is a thing such as seasonal depression, especially during the holidays, that mm-hmm. you really should make it a point. Like, I always say, if someone crosses your mind and you haven't talked to them in a second, call them. Pick up the phone and call them.
Mm-hmm. He also said that during this Christmas day, we need to remember to rely on Jesus. We've been getting all ready with presents and decorating our houses and great food when we get home, but we need to remember that our life should all be centered around Jesus. He said there are 3 things that John tells us that are important. One is the visitation of vision. Moses received instruction from God. He was acknowledged and seen as God's servant. When we buy gifts and turn ourselves inside out to be seen by others, we need to remember that we need to be seen, we need to see and talk to each other, and we need to see Christ in our neighbors instead, not just worry about gifts. 2, the reception of the rejected. When you find Jesus for yourself, you really don't need someone to intercede for you. You have direct access to God. Jesus is the name that most people, he said, actually say on their deathbed, that he's noticed as a pastor. Pastor Quick has even gave us a cute little story of how he lost power. It was not cute to him because he had to go through this, but it was cute for us to remember the importance of God's power. He said he was without power in his home and due to a downed tree, but he located a generator room for his home. And he made the correlation for us with his example that Jesus is our generator. He's our source of power. Just because we might be fixated on other parts of the home, like the fireplace or the great pool or whatever, the most important thing is when you're without a source of power, where are you going to get your power from? And I really like that he gave us that analogy. And 3rd, he said the adoption of the alienated. And he said, he brought up a part in his sermon where he talked about how Black girls and women have it really hard in our society, and that we as a community really need to protect them. And he also mentioned a book written by Dolores S. Williams called Sisters in the Wilderness. He was basically trying to remind us that no one should feel alienated this time of year. We should actually look forward to helping each other. He says, you need to understand the invitation to be a child of God requires some maturity. Power is lifting someone up. When you know God's power, your praise and your actions can help other people. What did you think about the sermon today, Risa?
I definitely feel like it was very impactful when Pastor Quick was talking about how Black women and Black girls aren't really protected. I thought about Megan Thee Stallion. She just got done going through a trial against another person that had shot her. And I feel like throughout the entire situation, I felt like the way that she was treated was very inhumane, because I don't think people are looking at the bigger picture. She came out and she said, this person shot me, and instead of instead of the community being like, oh my gosh, like, I hope you're okay, people were trying to flip it on her, and they were more concerned about things that were not relevant to the trial at hand. They were bashing her, like bashing who she was, bashing whomever she had been with or had relations with, and it had nothing to do with the trial. So I really feel like I pray that, because it came out in court that the person that shot her he was found guilty, and he's currently in jail. And I just pray that Megan is able to start her path to healing, and she's able to spend time like with her family away from social media, because the things that were said about her by the things that were said about her by her female and male peers is very saddening, because there's too many times that Black women and Black girls don't come forward with the abuse that they have endured because of this right here, this treatment of am I going to be believed? Like, are people going to make fun of me? And that's not fair. Like, why is it that like our white counterparts can come out and they're believed, but the minute that we come out and say something that happened to us, people want to talk about everything else under the sun and call us liars, and that's not okay.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's very important that, like Pastor said, we look at that. We look at how we're protecting our own and protecting those that are the most vulnerable in our society. And the Black woman has been through an awful lot. And so to be able to have a period in our society where she's uplifted, that would be a beautiful thing. It really would be, in our music, in our art, and to see her lifted up as, the mother, the warrior, the female warrior that she is, would be great. Pastor Quick Sermon, you can get it while the getting is good, was live streamed on December 25th, 2022, Christmas Day, on the FBC Somerset YouTube channel. When you get a moment, please check it out. Now let's go over to Victory Missionary Baptist Church in Las Vegas, Nevada. They posted a November the 8th, 2022 sermon that we know you're going to enjoy. It's titled, Take a Knee. The speaker is Pastor Shyann A. Taylor. The scripture he referenced was Daniel chapter 6, verse 10 of the English Standard Version of the Bible. Having knowledge of Darius's decree, Daniel did not hesitate to worship his God. He followed his customary practice from the beginning of his walk with God, as was his custom since the early days. This event did not disturb him. He was sedate and stately, a man of quiet assurance. He did not enter into a state of anxiety or apprehension, because Daniel had a habit and a place of prayer. He allowed nothing to interfere with his prayer walk in this practice. He was a man who utterly depended on God for his needs. Guidance and thanksgiving were part of his prayer life. So at the beginning of this sermon, Pastor Taylor says, taking a knee refers to the American football player, Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee during the national anthem before a match in 2016. Kaepernick said he could not stand to show pride in a flag of a country that had oppressed Black people. So Pastor Taylor asked the congregants, ask yourself, who is worthy of your knee? Who is worthy of your worship? Who placed you in your position, and who will preserve you in your pit? Pastor Taylor went on to say, surround yourself with godly people of valor, because Daniel had given advice, very wise advice to a king. God promoted Daniel so he could continue to promote God at a newer level. And he reminded us that career is different from your ministry. Daniel is in the workplace, and he is in the practice of exercising his faith everywhere he goes because of his vocation. So Risa, have you ever found in your life that you could be, as a Christian, that sometimes you're asked to say or do things or participate in things or operate a certain way that kind of conflicts with your values? Or have you been able to uphold what your beliefs are, without any problem?
Luckily so far in my work career, I've been able to keep the morals that I have. So I haven't really been dealt that card, but I have seen some things that have been questionable. But luckily I've never really had to, pick between my morals and, what my job is asking me to do.
I think for me, it's only been problematic for me on Sundays. Graduation is always on the Sundays at Rutgers, and that's really a Sabbath day for me. I try to get around it by listening to the sermon, on the way home in my car, try to catch it somewhere as a rebroadcast because I'm very lucky that my church does have an online ministry where I can hear the word, but it's not the same. It's not the same as being with the saints on Sunday, and whether it's the live version of the broadcast where you can actually have communion with the fellow saints or being in the sanctuary. And I wrestle with that every graduation. Is like, they couldn't move this to another day. Why does it have to be on a Sunday?
Right, because I've always wondered that too, why is graduation on a Sunday and not on a Friday or a Saturday?
Yeah, I don't know who decided it, and maybe the person that made the decision, maybe Sunday's not their Sabbath. Maybe it's not everybody has a Sabbath on a Sunday, so it doesn't affect them as much, but it affects me, and I do have to go through that. But I do believe my Pastor Quick, is like, do what you got to do. He knows where my heart is, and he knows I'm still going to get a word. I'm still going to get what the word was that week. I'm still going to pay my tithes. I'm still going to, be part of my church community. I'm still going to be at Bible study that following Wednesday. But I do worry about what would happen if I just went ahead and said, you know what? I'm not going to be there. I've done it for a lot of years, and I really want my Sabbath back to be my Sabbath 52 weeks out of the year. Not excluding, and definitely excluding the graduation part,
Yeah, because I know I've been asked to work on Sundays, and I've told them every single time that I can't because I have church, and luckily my job has they actually respect that, so they'll ask if I can come on Saturday, and I'll give them a half a day on Saturday, but
I do. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I do notice during the pandemic, we had to do something a little different with graduation. So many graduations were delayed and had to be given at a different date, which wasn't on a Sunday. So I wasn't affected. And I really enjoyed the fact that, one, the graduates were being honored, and two, I didn't have to worry about that wrestle in my spirit about, here they are picking another Sabbath day you got to do something on, and you don't want to look like you're incompetent or you're trying to find a way to get out of working. But at the same time, you're like, if I can't put my God first in all things, every time, it gets a little dicey. You're like, I want to say something, but I don't want to be blackballed as, oh, she's making a big deal. But he is a big deal to me. He's a big deal.
But see, this is the thing, and I'll be completely honest, for those of us that have, that are just now, for those of us that are just now accepting God into our life, or we are doing the re-acceptance, okay? I feel like if there was a concert that was on a Sunday, like a Beyonce concert, that of course I would want to go to, but I know because that concert is at night, I would have to make sure I go to church that morning. So that way I could say, God, listen, I'm here. I showed up. I'm ready for the word. But then later on that night, I don't feel bad because
you don't feel convicted because you go.
Yeah, I went to church.
Gotcha. So. Totally. All right. So Pastor Taylor went on to say that taking a knee before the God that positions you, that's very important. Take a knee before the God that positions you. He said, I'm a turtle on a fence post. And everybody went, huh? And he's like, I'm a turtle on a fence post. And I thought, I was like, okay, he's a turtle on a fence post. He goes, a cat or a bird on a fence, you guys can easily explain that it got there by the power of jumping if it's a cat, or it landed as a bird. But when you see a turtle on a fence post, you know it's because someone lifted it up and placed it there. He said, God will place you and promote you when he sees fit. And I was like, yeah, I got that image now. You're right. If I want to be elevated, it's not about my own power doing it. It's all about him, right? Yeah. He went on to say, take a knee before the God that preserves you. The enemy plots, but the Lord will protect you against their plans. You can't control what people say about you, but you can control what is true. If they can't find anything against you, sometimes your haters will even make things up. They will even use the rules that you've been living by against you. Haters will hate you even for having a commitment to God. Your hope must rest in the hope of Jesus's righteousness when it gets hard like that. That was a little hard to hear recently. I'm like going, he's like, haters going to hate, haters going to do stuff, rely on God. And sometimes you sit there and go, God, when you gonna do something? You see what they doing to me, God. You be in your prayer closet and you see what they doing to me. When
Yeah.
you gonna do something for us, God?
I know. Listen, I understand. I've been there before. I had my own season where I was just like, God, if you don't do something, I don't know if I can't, because this is getting too hard for me. Like, you said you're gonna come through. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, but his time is not our time. So sometimes you're
Right.
saying that prayer and he's thinking to himself, already done. When you first prayed, it's already done. And you're like going, okay, if it's already done, I don't know time like you know time. Can you like give me a hint and when it's gonna be done? He never does. He never gives you a
know.
hint. He never gives you a time clock. He never lets the calendar fall open on a certain day where you're like, oh my gosh, the wind blew my calendar open. That must be the day he gonna set me free. My liberation is a coming. He never
Right.
does that.
Yeah, never. No. But then, you know what? When God does come through and then you actually understand why you went through what you went through, everything makes sense.
Everything makes sense. You're totally right. It was a beautiful sermon. I hope everyone gets a chance to listen to it. You can view Pastor Shyann A. Taylor's November 8th, 2022 sermon, Take a Knee, on the Empowering Church YouTube channel. Please, when you get a moment, check it out. Now let's go on to the screening room, Risa.
It's time for that weekly movie review in the screening room.
This is a part of the podcast that we would normally feature a movie from the Pure Flick catalog, but there was something that was really like, this was a new moment for the Hallmark Channel. I could not let it go by. The very first Kwanzaa related movie was featured. And it was featured this year and it had Holly Robinson Peete starring in it. And I said, you know what? I got to stop everything. It's Christmas time, going into Kwanzaa, and I'm going to stop and watch it. And I said, Risa, watch this movie with me. And you're like, okay, sure. So we watched Holiday Heritage. It came out in 2022. It was directed by Rhonda Bacharach and directed by Alphonse Altunyi. It stars Holly Robinson Peete, Lindy Greenwood, Brooks Darrell, Darlene Cook, and others. Now, this is featured, like I said, on the Hallmark Channel. It's very evident from the cast and the script, the costuming, and even the music that the Hallmark Channel made its first Kwanzaa movie a totally special event, okay? Hopefully now future Kwanzaa movies will be built on the solid foundation that was set by this movie. We saw it this past weekend, but it's coming on again on December 29th. So if you're listening to this broadcast, hopefully you can tune in and find it. Here is a brief synopsis. Ella is a graphic designer in Boston whose family is having a hard time since the passing of her grandfather a few years prior. Ella's trip back home to Marystown, Pennsylvania for the holidays gets off to a shocking start when her mother, Mecka, reveals that she's moving to Chicago to start her own bistro. It turns out that Mecka's relationship with her mother, Tess, has worsened over the past year, now that Mecka's father / Tess' husband is gone. The two mother-daughter are barely speaking to each other and are very close to becoming estranged. Yet they are both currently running the Chapel Family Bakery. Can you imagine working with your mom and you guys are not getting along? The tension in their business could be cut with a bread knife. Ella wants to repair the rift between her mother and her grandmother, so she hopes to execute a plan with the help of her ex-boyfriend Griffin and a little help from her deceased grandfather. The themes of this movie are family, forgiveness, community, tradition, Christmas, Kwanzaa, hope, and love. Risa, what do you think about Hallmark kind of venturing out and doing a Kwanzaa movie finally?
I actually love that. I love diversity. So anytime any station, especially Hallmark, wants to switch it up and actually give they want to shine a light on stories that need to be told, I'm all here for it.
Now, you know I tried when you were younger to celebrate Kwanzaa. What's the big story in the family about me and Kwanzaa?
Man. Well, yeah, we tried to celebrate it one time.
And we meaning your mother, because you were young. You and Nicole were very young.
Yeah, we were young, and I think we were we didn't understand it per se, all we saw was our mother wearing like a fake dashiki. We were just like, okay, so where are the gifts? And why are we lighting candles? And like, I don't think we were mature enough at that time to understand it.
We have in New Jersey, people have a very strong Jewish culture. So you're probably thinking like Hanukkah, you're going to get gifts every.
That's what I thought, because again, I have, I've heard of Hanukkah, and I had, some classmates at the time that were Jewish and they celebrated Hanukkah, and they were telling me they get gifts every night. So I'm like, oh, so when I saw like the candles, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to get gifts every night. And then when that was not the case, I was just like, oh.
Yeah, you were like books.
Yeah, I was like, a book. I was like, I don't want a book for Christmas, even though like, don't get me wrong, I love to read books now, but at the time I was just like, I want a Barbie. Like, I don't want like a book. So,
and I think the beautiful thing about the movie Holiday Heritage is that it actually breaks down each night and the way they go about explaining the principles and how important it is for the community part of a family. I mean, the Black community has been through so much, but to take the time away from the commercialism of Christmas and the Christmas holiday to focus back on family and unity and what's important, because we're not, like Pastor Quick said, we're not going to have all of our loved ones here forever. And I loved how the story had around Ella's grandfather. He had a tradition. Kwanzaa was his thing. Some people say, I love Thanksgiving. Some people say, I love Christmas. I love Easter. He loved Kwanzaa. That was his thing, where he could tell the stories of old, where everybody had to get dressed up, where his family would gather, and they would cook food, great food, all through Kwanzaa. So you're getting family dinners every single night. Could you imagine that, cooking a big Christmas dinner, but still got to go on and cook stuff?
Oh man.
It's not the traditional Christmas dinner stuff. It's like the stuff that, like, maybe grandma's favorite stew. Maybe it's another, dish that someone else loved to make, but it's like, it's all to get the family to get together during those days from the 26th to New Year's Day. Those 7 days all about just celebrating the love of family and unity.
Right.
Yes, I really like the movie, that it really nailed that home. I also like the fact that it dealt with the mother-daughter, because mothers and daughters don't always get along. We can have issues where we just like bump heads and say the wrong things or not be supportive in the way the other one thinks you should be supportive. It's hard. Usually daddies and daddies' girls stay tight. Even fathers and sons can bump heads, but mothers and sons can stay tight during certain parts of growing up and becoming adults. So for me, it kind of hit home a little bit, because I don't want to be estranged from you or your sister over any issue, but it happens at times. And all you can do is, let it just, run its course. Eventually two people will come together and they will talk things out. But until that happens, all you can do is love a person.
Right.
Yeah. It's almost like when you guys go off to college. It's so hard on parents when you guys go to college. You want to come to the campus all the time. And the first thing the students say at the Rutgers campus is like, Mom, Dad, don't come this weekend. You were just here last weekend. Let me be up here for a minute. Why don't you let me miss you? Now, at first, freshmen are very homesick. You saw that in your dorms. Yeah. But eventually they start enjoying themselves, right, Risa?
Yeah, I want to say like my freshman year, people were getting homesick. By the time it was like towards the end of like sophomore into junior, senior, we were just like, yeah, just drop us off so we can just go ahead and live our life. Because think about it, right? People need to understand. And I didn't get this until I actually lived on campus. You get like the best of both worlds. You get to be off somewhere and you get to gain your independence. But then when you come back home, it's like you're still a kid. Like your parents still do your laundry to some extent.
They baby you a little bit, haven't seen you for a while. They give you your favorite foods. They're trying to catch up with you. They want to do stuff with you because they haven't seen you all semester.
Right, because everything's all fresh. Like, oh, do you want your favorite meal and blase blah. So you're like, oh, I love this. And then, after a while, it's just like, oh, it's you again. So I don't know. That's
true. I mean, the beautiful thing is that the mother and the daughter in the story did work everything out. And I loved how they started getting really hip to what Ella was doing. When she's trying to get her mom and her grandmother together, they kind of like, we see what you're doing. We see what you're up to. Because she's like, I don't want to rip from my family. And she said, not to give anything away, but she actually relied on her ex-boyfriend and the wisdom of her deceased grandfather to get everybody back together on the same accord. Because when you get so staunch on your position, you forget. You're not dealing with the idea of a person. You're dealing with a person.
Right.
So you can say, my mom is this way. You can say, my uncle is this way. My father's this way. But when you sit down and you have to talk to them and look at them face to face, you'll see the humanity. And that's what Pastor Quick was saying too in his sermon. We have to really look at each other and see the Christ in each other, because we have nothing if all we're going to do is look at people and look at them as everything they've done wrong. Because I've done a lot of wrong things. I know you have, everybody on this earth has done wrong, but Christ, he died on the cross for all of us so we can see the humanity and be good to each other.
Yeah, and this is why I will always be a ride or die for Jesus, because he died for me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's a beautiful movie. I love the colors. I love the fashion. It made me want to go on Amazon and start looking for my candles and stuff. I want my own Kwanzaa box. And I said to myself, when I watched the movie the first time, because I let you watch it with me the second time. When I watched it the first time, I said, oh, I got to get my Kwanzaa box. And I said, Pastor Quick will be like, if you spend enough money, what are you spending money for? So I was like, but I was thinking about it. I said, but it would be nice. We just watched the movie. We're going to promote it on the podcast. It would be so great to bring Kwanzaa back, take that memory out of Risa's mind of when we had like, Mom did it once. I wanted to really bring it back like full force and have a real Kwanzaa every year. But then I said, let's wait and do it right. We'll start it next year. And then we'll go from there 1 year at a time with Kwanzaa. It gives people time to get the clothes they want to wear. It gives people time to get the different parts of Kwanzaa. So I'm not running around trying to spend a bunch of money getting all at once. I can slowly get the things I want to represent, Kwanzaa in our house. And for the little people in the family to know it's coming and how we're going to celebrate it.
I will say the one thing that I am going to redo next year is I am getting a head start on my Christmas shopping, because I don't know where the time went, but it was like 1 minute it was August, then it was October, and boom, it's December. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah. Perception of time has been like completely lapsed.
Yeah. I really want to, and Aunt Sandy, who's my sister, your Aunt Sandy, used to always have this thing about Christmas where she would say, and I talk about her in the past because she's no longer with us. She said, you always want to give a gift that you would want to get. Don't give it to a last minute thought. Think about the person. It might not be something expensive at all, but put the person in mind of what they need, what they're looking for, what will make them smile. And if it's something that you almost want for yourself, then you're on the right path.
This is very true.
Yeah. And I think she says that because getting a lot of last minute gifts from people that go into their regifting pile was getting on her nerves from her friends and other people. Like, oh, let me find if I got something I can just give you. No, she wants someone to think about her and give it some thought and make sure that the gift aligns to of a memory or something they think I might need or might want.
Yeah, she is definitely on point, because I remember one year someone gave me a gift and it was a bar of soap and it wasn't Dove. So I was like, I can't use this if I wanted to.
Yeah, they think it's a great designer soap.
Yeah, and I was just like, I can't.
I had that happen too. I think it's because at that time of the year, it might have been the same year I got my bar soap. People were into pouring their own soaps or something, or fancy soaps. That doesn't mean everybody wants a bar of soap. It felt like a lump of coal when I unwrapped it. I felt like they gave me a lump of coal.
Yeah, I was like, listen, this is a PSA for everybody. No shade, right? I have to use Dove soap. Again, Dove is not sponsored us, but we love y'all. I have to use Dove because I have super dry skin. If I try to use any other soap other than Dove, it's not going to be cute. I have eczema too, so we're not going to play around.
We're not playing around with the soap and the lotions.
No, not during this cold weather. Absolutely not.
Soaps and lotions are too personal unless you really know what the person likes and gives them what they like. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I hope you will give Holiday Heritage a try. We're going to have the trailer on our website with www.withthequickness.com, so you can check it out there. Like I said, it comes on again on December 29th during Kwanzaa. So if you want to check it out, if you can do that in the United States, please do. Now let's go on to the Bema seat.
Come before the Bema seat. Come before the Bema seat. Where life's journeys meet. Every week, testimony of the one who brings hope and victory. With joy and reverence, we will sing our praises to the King of Kings. The Bema
Now, the Bema seat is an area of our show where we like to do an interview of someone. And me and Risa gave us some talk at the end of season 1. And we said, if we don't have anyone lined up for the interview, we're going to share real life stories that can motivate or encourage new and rededicated Christians. So we found one. This is the story of Shyann, Delmar, and her cousin, Mecka Carey. And it reveals the importance of listening to the Holy Ghost and letting God use you for a higher purpose. And it was reported by CNN. Now, 2 Indianapolis police officers had spent a day searching in vain for a missing baby in a stolen vehicle when they had stopped to eat and gather their wits. See, a woman suspected of stealing a 2021 black Honda Accord had been taken into custody earlier that day on December 22nd. That's of this year, 2022. But the vehicle itself was still missing. More urgently, baby Cason Thomas, who was in the car with his twin, Carey Thomas, when it was stolen 3 days earlier in Columbus, had still not been found. So this car was stolen from Columbus, Ohio. All right. Now, one of the officers said, it was time for us to decompress because we were disappointed that we could not find him. A Sergeant Shyann Anderson of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, he told WISH-TV. And then God opened up the heavens for us and almost took him and put him right into our hands, he said. Now, that's a wonderful thing to say as a police officer, with the cameras in your face and you're so glad you got the case solved. But let's look a little deeper. See, at the same time the officers had stopped to eat, there were 2 women who were also getting hungry during their search for the same baby. Annapolis resident Shyann Delmar and her cousin, Mecka Carey, had been following their own trail of clues about the missing baby since Wednesday. Cheyenne's interest in the case began on Tuesday when she had an interaction with a woman who she and Mecka believed looked like the suspect in the kidnapping. These 2 cousins arranged to meet with the woman on Thursday, and they helped lead the police to their location, and the woman was taken into custody. Police announced the arrest of the kidnapped suspect, Mariah Jackson, that same afternoon. The suspect, Mariah Jackson, was 24. She was awaiting extradition to Columbus, Ohio, where she faced 2 felony counts of kidnapping. A warrant for Jackson's arrest was filed through the Franklin County Court, according to an online docket. The Marion County Sheriff's Office was also charged Jackson with battery of bodily waste, online court records show, but it's unclear if Jackson had an attorney. On the night of December 19th, Cason and Carey Thomas were left inside of a running car that as their mother picked up a DoorDash order in Columbus. When she returned, the car was gone along with her twins, according to the Columbus police. Now, Carey was found abandoned near Dayton International Airport in the early morning hours of December 20th of this year. And even after Jackson's arrest, the other twin, Cason, still hadn't been found. The cousins, Shyann and Mecka, told a local newspaper that based on the bus schedule that was left in their car by the woman, they decided to trace the bus route to look at the cars buried in the snow. Their search took days. But then there, outside of a Papa John's restaurant, was the stolen car with a baby inside. Baby Cason was found in Indianapolis, about 175 miles from where he was taken in Columbus. The cousins spotted the officers nearby and they flagged them down. The Indianapolis Star newspaper reported that the police, radio communications, social media posts, and the authorities, what they all released matched up with what Shyann and Mecka's account was. In a tweet, the Indianapolis police thanked all who helped locate Cason, but they didn't mention Shyann and Mecka specifically. When we found him, he was cold, right? But he was awake and he was breathing. He was moving around a little bit, one of the officers had reported. His eyes were open wide, just trying to take everything in. Cason's family said the baby was doing well as could be expected under the circumstances. And LaFonda Thomas, the twins' grandmother, said she's overwhelmed by the discovery. This is going to be the best Christmas ever, the grandmother told WBNS TV. She said, I'm so excited. It's a miracle. Now, with the quickness, our podcast is so grateful and thankful for Shyann, Delmar, and her cousin Mecka Carey for letting the Holy Spirit guide them into helping a little innocent child be reunited with their family. So even though you didn't get shouted out the way you should, we're going to shout you out here, right, Risa?
Absolutely.
And I know it's probably customary for a lot of law enforcement just to, not put a lot of names in the press of people that have helped in any kind of investigation. So please don't take it personally. I'm not sure why your names weren't shouted out before, but we're going to shout you out now and say that we are so appreciative that you went by the promptings, that you thought you recognized the person that was apprehended, could recall that she was in your car, and looked at the bus schedule that was left and decided to follow that route. And it led to the discovery of that baby. Now, maybe the officers would have saw that baby eventually, but you saw a little Kason first. And we are so appreciative, right, Risa?
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? Is that a real, true Christmas miracle?
Definitely is a Christmas miracle. Thank God that, those two women, had some type of feeling and calling to, to follow the bus route, because who knows what would have happened to that little baby. Yeah, exactly. Now, if you would like to share a story from your Christian experience, one that will inspire new and rededicated Christians, please visit www.withthequickness.com and select the Bema Seat tab. There you can fill out our interview form so we can schedule a virtual interview with you. You can also email bemaseat@withquickness.com to begin our guest process. So, Risa, we have another episode down. I hope you have a beautiful Christmas this Christmas. Thank you. And I hope you also have a beautiful Christmas as well. Now, we're going to sign off with our new sign off. We are so grateful that you tuned in today. Our prayer for you is that God will reveal to you that He is real and He's able to meet your needs according to His glorious riches in Jesus Christ. So, everyone have a great, blessed week. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everyone.
I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you.
With everything crazy, you're still my source of peace. You filter out the lows, you give me what I need.